And it might be nostalgia talking.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you had the housing crisis, but, we were all young, still enjoying life. I didn't have to get up at 6 a.m. for a soul-sucking job that I hate. My parents were still together. Food tasted better. It was just, what a time to be alive. They're eating the dogs, Kieran.
They're eating the dogs.
You know that?
They were eating
the dogs.
Oh, a meth raccoon.
Yeah.
Just awful. There is nothing good about this. It's the worst possible scenario for the CFP, for the national championship.
Notre Dame is a mid-program with really good marketing.
And the Michigan players are going to look at that, and anybody who's committing to Michigan in the next years, and just go, I want to beat them even more. Like, I wanted to beat them when I first came to the school. Recruits are going to see this.
And we're also sorry that you have to watch a Brian Kelly coach football team. We can only imagine how difficult that must be for you, knowing that you're not going to win a big game ever with him as your coach, and that you're rooting for a child murderer.
This podcast has gone off to a really weird start, but I like it.
I love it, though. I'm a big fan. We're back. Welcome back to another episode of Tailgate in the Quad. As always, I'm here with Kieran. Kieran, how are you doing, bud?
Doing well, man. We're inching closer to the college football playoff, but the season. So I'm excited.
Inching closer to the college football playoff too, but we're just gonna have a lot of stuff in the way, like the entire season. But with the college football playoff, there's always things going on. And as we joke about every episode, I feel, Kieran, we record on Wednesdays, so all the news is going to come out Wednesday night or Thursday.
Yeah.
Nothing in between about it. Yeah, since we last recorded on Wednesday of last week, the college football playoff has announced that they're going to a straight seeding model instead of highest ranked conference champs getting a first round bye. Kieran, how do you feel about that?
I actually think that is... It's kind of difficult because in order to make your conference, you have to be playing well, right? And I think that the conference champions should make it into the first round buys. I think, yes, it does slightly disparage smaller schools, but I think ultimately it's more worthwhile doing that than having the highest ranked conference team get in.
Yeah, I think it... Yes, you should be rewarded for making or winning your conference.
Yeah.
Your reward is making the college football playoffs.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I don't care if some team lost in the last week of the regular season and didn't make their conference championship. I don't want to reward them for losing because I feel like teams will then try to duck out of their conference championship more now. But if they're a better team, they should be playing. And if they've shown they're a better team all season, I'm not talking hypotheticals.
Yeah.
Not everyone is thrilled with this move. Boise State athletic director Jeremiah Dickey has said, please call it the Boise State policy. Legacy is important to make us feel better. When the system is created to keep you down, you fight like hell to break it. Nothing to lose. Always what's next. Believe in epic 1-0. #bleed blue. Boise State, it was a great story. But we saw what happened when they played a real team.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you want to call Oregon a real team, regardless of what happened in the playoffs, they lost. It was close. And then they went up against Penn State. Congrats. It's the Boise State rule. We saw you get a first round bye and then get blown out your first game in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
That's the legacy you want, Jeremiah Dickey. Then that's fine. I wouldn't want that as my legacy, known as someone who does very well against really shitty competition. And then once the lights are the brightest, I crumble because my entire team is built on the back of one child.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. We saw it with Cincinnati a year or two ago. It's the same kind of Cinderella storyline. A group of 5 upstart team goes really far in the regular season. They beat up on their competition because they just have a particularly good year, whatever the case may be. And then Unfortunately, they have to walk into a Big Ten or an SEC stadium and just get their daylights knocked out. And yes, call it the Boise State rule or whatever you want to do, but you have to realize that your school isn't that good. Even if you had made it past the first a round or two, you would still have gotten blown out at a later date. So I actually think that the whole point about the highest conference, or that the conference champions get the win, and then whatever it is afterwards does make sense. I don't agree with the whole 4 automatic seeds for SEC and Big Ten. I think that's ludicrous, but conference championships absolutely count. And the other thing that Dickey was really upset about was the whole the payment structure of it. So if you got into the highest ranked conference champions receive an automatic $8 million payout. So it's $4 million for making the field and then $4 million for reaching the quarterfinal. And if you get that first seed in your conference, you get that automatic $8 million because you've already technically made it into the quarterfinal. So I understand what he's upset about, because he's thinking he could use that money. Like if his team were to get in there, he could use that money to better facilitate the school. I get that. But I don't want to see you guys get blown out on national television. So, I would argue that there's more revenue generating games than a Boise State matchup.
Yeah. And on top of that, you mentioned Cinderella stories. For all of college football history, for the most part, I mean, obviously you get season by season upsets, but eventually your carriage are going to turn back into a pumpkin. Mm-hmm. Your horses are going to turn back into field mice, and you're just going to be remembered for losing once you played a real team. Mm-hmm. Great story, great season out of Boise State. The last time we saw that team and Ashton Genty, because he was the team, mm-hmm. in a Boise State uniform, was getting their daylights knocked out by Penn State up and down the field. So if I were Jeremiah Dickey, I would not want people to be thinking about what my team did in the playoffs.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, as the Penn State fan that I am, I absolutely loved watching Penn State demolish their run offense. Don't get me wrong. As a Penn State fan, it was great. As a neutral, I feel like I'm almost upset that Gianti was stopped so well, because I'm like, oh, Boise State's playing a Big Ten opponent. They look serious this year. They look like they could maybe go for a run to at least make it into the final. And that's all well and good. And if Gianti had gone for 250 yards with 2 touchdowns and a huge 65-yard run, that's one thing. But he barely got it out of the line of scrimmage. So it's like the disparity in product is monstrous. And you'll be better off collecting a paycheck for making the first round and maybe winning the first round and then getting blown out better than this situation that's currently set up.
Yeah, it's a shame, but I think really, as much as we're against expansion, a change was very much needed, regardless of if you think that straight seeding is good or bad. The playoff year one of the 12-team playoff experiment wasn't great. It was good. A lot of good, meaningful football was played, but there were things to change. One thing that apparently was the big issue for the NCAA, the SEC, the Big Ten, and all these other teams was the number of teams. They want a 16-team playoff. A lot of people are pushing for, we've mentioned last week, the Big Ten, SEC getting 4, Big 12, ACC getting 3, and then everyone else can figure it out. We'll get to that, some more comments on that. But one model people are pushing for is a 5 plus 11. It's 5 conference champions and then 11 at-large bids. Notre Dame will be somewhere in that 11 at-large bids, most likely. If they get
even if they're 25th, even if they're 25th, they weasel their way into number 11.
They'll negotiate. If they're ranked, they get one of the bids. I think if you're going to do an automatic qualifier, that's the way to do it. I go back and forth on this.
Yeah, no, I agree with the premise of it, but the only stipulation I would say is that 5 automatic beds, provided the Pac-12 can get 8 teams within their conference. And I don't mean that just because, oh, it's just going to go back and forth between Oregon State and Washington State. I do mean that, like, that's not enough competition. Like, you physically need more teams in order to decide a conference. So it'll be 4 plus 1 plus 11. So, and then that plus 1 goes to, fuck it, give it to Notre Dame because they're just going to take it anyway. Until the Pac-12 can generate 8 teams that can at least play, so they get some competition within their own conference. That's the only caveat I would have for that.
I mean, it's going to be basically what it was last year. It's your 4 conference champions from the Power 4 and then a big group of 5 school.
Mm-hmm.
Or group of 6, whatever they decide to rank the Pac-12 as, if they decide to move up one of these other conferences. But no, I said I keep going back and forth on this, Kieran. I disagree with this model. We've been hammering this point home. College football is inherently not equal.
Yes.
Not all conferences are equal either. You have the SEC and the Big Ten, and then it seems some years everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You might have a pop-up with the Big 12 or the ACC. 1 or 2 schools are really good that year, but it's never, no, I don't want to say never, but it's not going to be at that same level for a while. You're not going to say for at least the next 5 to 10 years, it's the Big 10, the SEC, and someone else. It's still going to be the Big 10, the SEC, and somebody else. Or in everybody else, excuse me. And that is a big debate right now in college football as well. Greg Sankey was speaking. The SEC was having some meetings in Destin this week. Said that everything they're doing is for the good of the game. I don't need lectures from others about the good of the game, is what he said. Kind of went on a rant calling out the ACC and the Big 12, talking about but referencing the alliance that the ACC tried to make with the Big 12 and the Big 10, their rating of the Pac-12, the Mountain West, and the American to sort of save their conferences. Greg Sankey said, you can issue your statements, but I'm actually looking for ideas to move us forward. The SEC didn't need the playoff. That was for the good of the game. Kieran, what are your thoughts on Greg Sankey's comments?
Frankly, it's a very valid crash out that he had. I mean, he's right. The SEC and the Big Ten, particularly the SEC, coming from his point of view, are the drivers of college football. As much as we dislike it or love it, whatever side of the fence you fall on, the SEC does drive college football. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, right? They have arguably the most competitive conference. They have the most amount of national championships in the past, since 2000, and I'm including, claimed or whatever. And they are just extremely dominant. So there's no way to pull fans from the SEC anywhere else in the country because it just wouldn't make any sense. So he's right. He doesn't need lectures. He's been doing what he can to make the SEC the it just means more slogan. But he's right. There's no conference that can quite challenge the SEC in terms of viewership, revenue, just actual product on the field. I mean, it's all there. And I get where he's coming from. He's like, I don't need anybody else, or the SEC doesn't need anybody else. They can do it themselves and it will still work. That's the issue. He's right when he says it's for the good of the game. He's right. I can't fault him for it.
Yeah, and people online were saying like, "Oh, he's just whining because it's not going to be all SEC." And he would go on to say like, the SEC athletic directors are coming to me and saying, and presidents are saying, we've given up too many concessions for this whole cultural playoff process. I wouldn't go that far. I don't think they've necessarily made these crazy concessions besides being handed more bids. They didn't lose things. It wasn't like year one of the 12 team, we're going to have 3 SEC teams, 3 Big Ten teams, everyone else figure it out.
Yeah.
So I don't think they've lost much. But these comments did get me thinking about the SEC, the Big Ten, and college football hierarchy. And last week, 2 weeks ago, we were talking about the SEC's proposed model, which was 4 SEC, 4 Big Ten, 3 ACC, 3 Big 12, and everyone else. And I was against it at the time. But I have gotten on board with that mindset. If you look at what the SEC and the Big Ten are doing in terms of college football compared to everybody else, saying what they're doing and what the Big 12, the ACC, the Pac-2, and the Group of 5 are doing are equal is like the kid in the group project in school who didn't do anything the entire time and still gets an A.
Yeah.
The SEC and the Big Ten are on, I don't want to say are playing a different sport, but are playing a different league of sport. It's like the Boston Red Sox going up against their AAA affiliate, the Worcester Red Sox. That's the gap, and it seems to be getting closer. And a lot of people point out, as you did, Kieran, last week, you don't know what it's going to be in 10 years, 20 years. They're changing the playoffs every year. It does not matter what it's going to look like in 10 or 20 years. We're going to have a 50-team college football playoff by then, and CTE will be the leading cause of death of student athletes.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously. Yeah, it's one of those things, like, the format has been changing so much that there's no way to really narrow down anything worth meaning, because essentially it all changes year on year. So I'm at the point where I think it's kind of one of those things where we split up. We'd have to split up the conferences and just do away with them, and just go in with, kind of and I don't know why I keep going back to this, but it just makes the most sense. Like split it up into 3 separate or 4 separate, divisions, and just play, the best teams make it into the first division, right? Do away with, Division 1, FBS, and FCS. Just put them all out there. Top 25 teams go in. They play in one league. If you get low enough, you get relegated into the bottom one. You lose a little bit of revenue share. It's the same thing over and over again, and we might as well just do that because it's arguably more efficient than anything else. That means that the winners can prove that they're winners by staying up in the highest conference, and if teams have a bad year, guess what? They need to rebuild, recruit who you can, and go on from there. And it's one of those things, like, the top teams will stay there, right? The Alabamas will stay there. They might be 25, but the next year they'll be 7. It's one of those things that resilient teams can bounce back despite challenges. But it also gives the opportunities for the smaller schools to go on monumental runs, if that's how you want to frame this. So there has to be some sort of compromise that we could reach somewhere down the line.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate the relegation idea. I mean, there are some logistics that would need to get figured out. Other sports, you would need to kind of decide what those feeder leagues are going to be. I mean, the Group of 5, Power 5 split is going to make the most sense. I think, Kieran, though, I think we're overcomplicating everything.
Okay.
So I think we need to just take 10, 11 conferences so Notre Dame can be daddy's special boy and be independent still. 11 conferences, really regionally based.
Yes.
There would still be an A and a B in each region, but really you'd have the Northeast, the Midwest, the Southeast, the Southwest, and the West Coast. Yeah. So there's your 5 regions. Each one, I don't know, you put 12 teams in the Southwest, you put 10 in the Midwest. The Southeast, you can just put whatever number you want. The West Coast, the Pacific Coast, you put 12 in there. You have them play a season. All those teams, they can play against each other, but really you're going to care about the games within those conferences, right? Then at the end of the season, after conference championships are played, you figure out some of the best teams, but you put all the teams and their statistics and their opponents win-loss and all that into a computer.
Yes.
And the computer just spits out 2 teams. You go, these guys are playing for the national championship. And then whoever wins that is your national champion. You don't mess around with this first round bye for conference champions, straight up seeding, the Boise State rule. Oh, we're going to do 5 plus 11. We're going to do 4 plus 4 plus 3 plus 3 plus whatever. No, it's simple. It's math. It's straightforward. It's easier than ever with AI. So really just take us back to like 2013.
Yeah.
2009. We're going to go back to 2009 before the last round of realignment popped off, and that's really how you make college football great again.
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. It's so much the BCS era was so much easier to figure out. Yeah, one team gets snubbed or whatever, but it's just more simple. It's ridiculous.
And it might be nostalgia talking.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you had the housing crisis, but we were all young, still enjoying life. I didn't have to get up at 6 a.m. for a soul-sucking job that I hate. My parents were still together. Food tasted better. It was just, what a time to be alive. And they ruined it.
Yeah.
College football ruined it by realigning.
Yeah. You think Harambe was bad? Well, let me tell you.
You could probably find a connection to Harambe from the 2010, 2011 realignments to Harambe to today. Also, shout out, it is the 9-year anniversary, I believe, of Harambe.
Damn.
Rip in peace to the GOAT. Moment of silence, obviously.
Yeah, moment of silence, of course.
Any other thoughts on the SEC's talk and college football playoff expansion?
No, I mean, we've touched on it every week. It's going to get worse and worse as more people give, more higher ups give their opinions. So I think we can save that debate for another day.
That is fair. Fine. We'll move on to one of your teams, Kieran. UNLV, their new coach, Dan Mullen, said there should only be one portal period. Get rid of the spring transfer portal in January. This is your team for 1 year. And this is, I don't disagree with only having one transfer portal window. Having it be the January one might be the most brain dead take I've ever seen.
Okay. Why? Why do you think that?
Hey, Kieran, what happened to Penn State this year? And a lot of schools, didn't someone right before their playoff game announce, I am leaving to go to the portal? I don't want to, but I want to hit the portal, so I have to do it now.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you make January before the season ends the window that you keep?
Well, okay. You can just make it after the championship game, after it's played, the portal opens, and just make it that way and just expand it a month. So whatever day that championship, whatever Monday that championship falls on, that next day portal opens. That allows everyone to do it. You get 30 days, 30 calendar days, and that's it. And just there's your window, because then you can transfer teams. You're all in the off season. You've just went through a grueling season and be done with it. I understand like the January, this is your team type thing, but like come February 10th or whatever that 30 days is up, boom, there you go. That's your team for the year. That's how I agree that there should only be one, but just make it right after the championship.
I think that you would then have to tell people like you can't announce you're entering the portal until that day, because Correct. If a team's not in the playoffs, they're going to be ignoring all those rules. These schools weren't supposed to be paying kids for about 100 plus years, and they still did that. I think they should do it when our spring practices usually, like April, March 1st. Portal opens. Okay. So you keep it as the spring window, but it's March 1st. You give these guys, and they can't announce they're going in the portal until the week before.
Okay.
So
Okay.
last week in February, they can say, hey, I'm going to the portal, officially enter. And then March 1st, schools can start contacting them. Because that gives a little bit of time for these kids to decompress after the year and go, okay, I thought about it. I want to hit the portal. Not a quick reaction. Well, I didn't play as much as I wanted. Or, well, my team sucked down the stretch. You have time to think about it. You can discuss with your coaches. You'll have, I'm assuming they do some sort of exit interview. Maybe not with the head coach, but with people. Hey, what do you think of the school year? Blah, 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 whatever. So I think the spring portal or the spring window makes the most sense.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I get that the right before spring practice would make the most sense, but I think I still like the February window because it gives time after the championship and the bowl games to like relax and things like that. But then it also doesn't hinder any early spring games. So like, you know, a coach knows in February that they're not getting this guy this year. So let's not build anything into it. So I think a little, a compromise can be reached where it's not quite right before spring games, but it's, it is well enough after bowl season that they can relax and get their bearings.
Okay. How about this? I'll do a compromise with you. And by
All
a compromise, I mostly agree with you. February 5th.
Yeah.
Around there. National Signing Day, even though it's always important, as it used to be, was February 4th.
Mm-hmm.
I believe next year or this year it was. So coaches know who their freshmen coming in are. Next day, okay, time to work on filling out my roster just for next year, but also kind of keeping in mind what holes you're going to have.
There you go. Or should it be flipped? It should be the day before National Signing Day, so they know who they're losing, so they can make any last-minute adjustments for National Signing Day and go get somebody.
My reason for after is I think there will be a last-second push for a lot of these guys, a lot of these freshmen, so it gives time to give them, because also with the portal, a lot of guys are losing the potential to go to certain schools they want to because they're like, oh, we're Alabama. We'll just get a former 5-star sophomore out of the portal instead of, well, let's find this development guy.
Fair enough.
So also, keep things exciting.
You'd also be taken away from the signing day when somebody enters the portal like the day before. That's bigger news than these 18-year-olds who are living the dream right now. So yeah. Okay. Good point.
Yeah. But speaking of excitement, Kieran, Georgia Tech's season, a season anyone can be proud of. They went 7-6. They lost the Birmingham Bowl to Vandy, and they beat 2-10 Florida State. Is that something to get excited about, Kieran?
Did they find the cure for cancer?
Probably not.
Did they maybe open a desalination plant for a country that is suffering water shortages?
They might have. That sounds like something a college would do randomly.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe I'm aiming too low and yet high at the same time. But no, it doesn't sound like a good season.
Well, Georgia Tech would disagree with you, Kieran. And that's why they decided that their players deserved some rings.
Yeah.
And I mean, just look at them, Kieran. And if it's going to let me show it. There we go. My computer's being so slow. Look at it, Kieran.
Gorgeous. Absolutely.
You got
unreal.
Georgia Tech football, the Birmingham Bowl logo that they lost. Nobody mentioned that part. They went undefeated at home, first time in 25 years because they've been absolute garbage. There's the score, 24-21, a 3-point victory over the aforementioned 2-10 Florida State Seminoles, and then keeping Miami out of the college football playoffs. Shout out Jared. That if they made a rig just for that, I would have loved it. Actually, I would have found it so petty and hilarious. but everything else makes it worse.
Yeah, it's I don't even know why. Like, they didn't even give a good reason.
No, they did not. ESPN posted something about it on Twitter, but I just want to show the ring. If it wants to, my internet's being terrible. But it's basically was like they went undefeated at home. They made a bowl game. Basically, a lot of stuff that a lot of teams do every year.
Yeah.
And not exactly something to be overly excited. And they lost. If they had won the Birmingham Bowl, whatever. Teams make rings for dumb reasons all the time. Auburn made a state champion ring when they beat Alabama in 2017. But some of these comments, is this participation trophy? The F is this ring for? Ring for losing to Vandy in the Birmingham Bowl? Come on now. Do we really get rings for winning 7 games and losing to Vandy in the Birmingham Bowl? Well, Alex, you do when you're Georgia Tech.
Oh, it's just, I mean, talk about like the lowest tiered silverware you could possibly get. An absolute participation trophy of a ring, functionally worthless, but they probably spent a gargantuan amount of money to get them. And, you know, I'm sure it's a nice sentimental parting gift for seniors, but like, in what world is that an appropriate thing to do? Who in their right mind thought this was a good idea and that this is something that we want to memorialize?
Yeah, it's not bad. Also, I would like to apologize to the 2017 Auburn Tigers football team. They did also lose their bowl game against UCF. I remember this is why I hate this team even more than usual. But they did make their conference championship game. So they were SEC Western Division co-champions. So that's what they made a ring for. And then they put state champions on there.
Somewhat valid.
But yeah, a little more valid. Teams make conference or division championship rings a lot. So the ring itself isn't as stupid. That entire team, though, is for feeding into UCF's delusions.
Yeah, I'm at a loss for words as to why this was even a thing. Like, was there something in the background that we're completely unaware of?
I don't think so. I think this is just a school that has fallen on some hard times and needed something to celebrate.
Again, a loss in a bowl game is not that to celebrate. If you won it, yeah, sure, whatever. I guarantee you more of those things are going to be on a pawn shop tomorrow than actually on the rings or the fingers of the players.
Yeah, 100%. Do teams usually make rings for going to bowl games?
Not that I'm aware of.
It could be because we root for schools that have been relevant in the last 20 years and have been good since the days of John Heisman. Unlike Georgia Tech, who's been terrible. So I don't know. Is this a poor person joke? I'm too rich to understand.
Yeah, it's one of those desperate attempts to feel relevant again after decades of mediocrity. It's simple as that.
The problem is they're still mediocre. They're not out of the woods. They went 7-6.
Yeah. If you went 11-1, I'd be like, oh, okay, fine, right? You had a great year, Cinderella run type story, but you haven't, and it is nothing to celebrate. Are you trying to like motivate your team to get back into greatness? Because I guess that's the mentality at Georgia Tech. Just give them silverware and they'll win forever.
That would be motivation to be mediocre.
Yeah.
Like, hey, if we're complete dog shit up and down the field for most of the year, we squeak into a bowl game and lose, we're still going to get a ring that we can pawn off when our football career eventually ends.
I can't wait to sell this for $2.
I feel like based on just the metal alone, it might be worth more, but they would then have to deduct whatever cost would be incurred by melting it down.
Yeah, get $1.50, given the fact that we have to burn this thing
What's
where
it
lies.
made out of? Did they say?
I would assume some sort of stainless steel.
I don't know. It's because, like, on the one hand, you would think, like, oh, it's a pretty nice ring.
Mm-hmm.
They probably spent are those diamonds all over it? I didn't really look at it too hard. It doesn't say how much or what it's made out of.
Better be like, oh, what's that diamond substitute? Not
Cubic
diamond
zirconium.
Thank you, zirconium. Yeah, it's probably that.
I would hope. I really just, like you said, stainless steel, cubic zirconium. Materials. Let's see if it will say what it is. CBS Sports, do you have my answer? Nope. They don't. So yeah, they'd better have not spent any money on this. They should have gotten it from Trophy Smack or like one of those fantasy football trophy sites. That's the only way I could justify it. Also, if they did it as a bit.
Yeah.
But moving on to our last little topic before going to our big one. Texas has blocked Ohio State before the season's even started. Ohio State wanted to move their season opener from noon to a later time, and Texas said no. Kieran, what are your thoughts?
Soft as hell. You, Texas, you want to be with the big boys, right? Fine. You play in prime time, you play 7:30, you play under the lights in a loud stadium. You do not get to play at noon and cop out. I don't care what deal Fox or whomever has asked you to bend the knee to get a chunk of change off you to block OSU's attempt to move it later. That is ridiculous. You want to prove you're a good football school? You play at prime time and you beat them. That's the only thing. You can lose by a field goal if it's the last second. That's fine. No, everybody will respect you. But you move it to prime time. That is utterly ridiculous. I am so pent up about this. The minute I saw this, I am having a full-on rant right now.
I completely disagree with everything you just said.
Get out. We're ending this podcast. No.
No.
No, go away.
All right. Kieran called it. Episode. No. I'm not going to sit here and say Georgia Tech or not Georgia Tech. I'm still thinking about those dumbass rings. Texas was not coddled by the Big 12. They were allowed to do whatever they wanted at the detriment to the rest of the conference outside of Oklahoma because they were the Big 12's special little boy who was one of their two noteworthy national and international, with how big they were, brands. However, they're in the SEC now with lots of other reputable international brands. Alabama, Georgia, Oklahoma still there, LSU, Tennessee, for some weird reason, are all known internationally. I think Tennessee mostly because that orange is so ugly, even though it matches our logo. But so they're not anymore. Ohio State is still very much coddled by the Big Ten. They're used to getting whatever they want. Oh, you guys say we need to play X number of games to get in the conference championship, but we didn't. So could you? Oh no, we're so sorry. Like, yeah, of course. We know you only played 6 games, but sure, go play in the Big Ten championship so you can get into the college football playoff for us. And it's the first time probably Ohio State has been told no. I love this. I think Ohio State, I know they just won the national title, but Ohio State needed someone to tell them no for once. The Big Ten sure as shit isn't going to do it. The girls at the bar aren't going to do it to the married Urban Meyer. Somebody needed to step up and tell them, no, you cannot always get what you want. I wish it was a different team besides Texas, but sometimes you get the hero you deserve, not the one you want.
Okay, I will admit that Ohio State absolutely does get coddled by the Big Ten, but I'm sorry. This is I would argue, one of the bigger interconference games this coming season. Okay, and Texas has said they're back, they're here, they've got a solid coach, they've got their quarterback that they want for the most part, and I'm sorry, if you want to play a big not opposite conference, but if you want to play a different conference's main team, because unfortunately they are, as much as it pains me to admit, Ohio State is the main Big Ten team there. You have to play it at prime time, right? I understand there are other very important and reputable schools within the SEC, but if it's against another conference, you play in prime time. Simple as that. I don't care that you don't want to play, or if you're trying to tell Ohio State, no, you have to play big games like this in prime time. There's no other spot for it.
But if you move it, they were also trying to move it to Sunday, by the way.
Okay. I will grant you absolutely not.
Yeah. Even if they weren't trying to move Sunday, I would still be 100% on Texas' side just because this is hilarious.
You're just wanting to stick it to Ohio State, and really I should be the one doing that.
Yeah. We should really be flipping here.
Yeah, we really should.
But I hate Ohio State. They're so annoying.
I mean, do too, but Texas doesn't get to.
I understand why you.
Go on.
I understand why you aren't as upset about, or don't find this as funny as I do, because Penn State never has a chance to beat Ohio State. Yeah. So, hey, Penn State, you suck. Yeah, well, you just beat us by 30.
Yeah.
Alabama fans, it's back and forth.
Yeah, you've known it. But here's the other thing, right? Here's my other frame of reference that might soften your I don't know, your approach to my logic. If Texas plays a Big Ten team like Ohio State, in a loud stadium in prime time and goes and beats them, not only does it help us because we get to point and laugh, but it also proves something for Texas that says, yes, we actually can win big games in the loudest atmosphere you have available. So it's a double because Texas is now can officially, well, not officially still, they still need to win a national championship, but they are on the path to we're officially back, which is great for them. And sucks for the rest of the SEC, so I don't care. But it also allows Ohio State to lose in primetime, which I would watch over a Penn State game against Illinois, probably.
I mean, they're playing at Ohio State, so it does. I think primetime noon, it doesn't matter.
Texas,
it'll be fun, guys.
Texas, when you win, plant the flag at the center, like Michigan did.
No, do it at the 49 so they can't arrest you.
Oh, yeah.
So stupid. I will admit, though, the Ohio legislature trying to ban big noon kickoffs, as funny as I find this, no, that is genius. Banning big noon kickoffs should be the number one goal of any presidential administration. And with that, I will be running for president in 2032 with the main goal of banning big noon kickoff and banning those bright ass LED headlights that blind everyone on the road.
Yes. Apart from those two things, fixing the conference or fixing the CFP, that's the platform.
Exactly. No, I had something else to say about this, and I forget. Also, Big Noon Kickoff, by the way, should not be a Big Ten thing.
Oh,
it should be a Big 12 thing.
Yeah.
Big Noon. Noon is 12.
Yes.
It's just
Big Ten kickoff is at 10 a.m., so you have to get up and start drinking by 5.
You'll do that anyway.
So?
Yeah, nothing special. But speaking of the Big Ten, Kieran, are you ready to go through the Big Ten as drinks?
Absolutely. Let's do this.
All right. Same thing. We're just going by the order that I had it in the spreadsheet for when we did our history. If you have not checked that out, go watch our Big Ten history episode. That one was a lot of fun. But without further ado, Kieran, Oregon. What drink are they?
So I was really trying to find something that kind of reflected Oregon and the fact that they've been solid for the past couple of years. And it was really annoying to try and pick one. So I went with something very brightly colored, a lemon drop shot. They're fun in small doses and they get you where you need to go. And you don't feel terrible for liking them.
That's fair. Marijuana.
Okay. All right.
Or is that Washington?
It's kind of both.
No, I think it's Washington. It's Seattle, Washington.
But,
it's like, no,
is marijuana a drink? I mean,
no, it's the same thing as Florida with meth. All right, fine. An IPA tall boy.
There you go.
But like 5 of them.
Yeah.
Because I
Florida,
like IPAs. I think they're fun. However, by the 5th one, and just like Oregon, as the season progresses, you're going to start regretting choices. And once Oregon gets to the playoffs and the postseason, you're going to regret rooting for them.
That's very true.
IPA tall boys.
It's a good one.
Next up, Penn State.
Yeah. I've got a great one for this. And I was a little how should I run this? Should I try and make it funny? Should I try and make it, somewhat serious or realistic, given that Yuengling is such a popular beer brewed in Pennsylvania? But I thought better of this. I thought vodka soda. Lots of potential and great hype, but man, does it leave you disappointed at the end.
That's fair. I was going to say...
Oh, God's sakes.
My wife told me I'm not allowed to say that.
You just did. It was all implied.
It wasn't implied. It was very much said. Kieran, the magic of editing means I can take it out. I can say whatever I want. But they are a Michelob Ultra.
Mid?
People who like them, love them, and don't shut up about it. Not many people really like them. Also, I Googled 3rd best-selling beer, and it said, in America, it said Michelob Ultra. So, 3rd best-selling beer, 3rd best team in the conference, consistently.
Number 3 on your scorecards, number 1 in your heart. Penn State.
And the people who have them number 1 in their hearts never shut the fuck up about it.
Yeah.
Next up, Indiana.
Yes. I've got one to kind of start you off. Indiana, a Jack and Coke. It's simple. It's effective. It's not really going to mess with you too much, but it's a foundation. It's a foundation that you can build off of.
That's fair. I was going to go with Coors Light because it feels like it's not really there most of the time.
Oh, good one. Good one.
Next up, Ohio State. This one's tough. I don't want to be respectful.
Right. I'll start you off. A Bloody Mary. They can do everything, but most people hate them.
That's fair. Whatever that kid in high school you knew who just raided their dad's liquor cabinet and tried to say they bought it.
Yeah.
That's Ohio State.
Half of it's water.
It's a really nice bottle. Then for their graduation present, their dad gives it to them.
Yep. There you go. I was saving this for you.
Next up, Illinois. Are the Big Ten just not big drinkers, Kieran? What are we
They're big
doing?
beer drinkers.
That's fair. I don't know Midwest beers, though.
That is a good point. I don't know.
Oh, Malort.
Oh, yeah, duh. That
Malort,
should have been the
duh.
easiest one, yeah.
And some people will be saying Chicago, Illinois.
Yeah, okay.
Malort's a big Chicago thing.
Yeah.
And people will be saying, well, Kev, you have Northwestern coming up. They're in Chicago. Yeah. Look back to what I said about Vandy. Those nerds don't drink. Next up, Iowa. Whiskey. Corn-based.
Yeah. That's very fair. That's very fair. I was gonna say an Irish coffee. And you're like, that doesn't make any sense. But you still get the whiskey aspect. But if you want a very specific flavor profile, i.e. a ton of punts, you get an Irish coffee. It's a very consistent. It's pretty much the same wherever you go. Not too much in terms of variation. Iowa football.
That's fair. That's a good one. Next up, Minnesota. Or no, Michigan's next. Can't jump Michigan. Moonshine, because it's illegal.
Oh.
Because the sign stealing, Kieran.
I was like, Michigan is now illegal? Did I miss something?
No. Side stealing, though, is.
Yeah. For this one, I said either, and I was torn between these two. Either a screwdriver because it's bright and yellow, or a Jaeger bomb because you get a lot of hype, and sometimes you do have a good night, and sometimes you don't.
That's fair. Another one could be whatever type of liquor the Ohio State kid brought, but a slightly worse version, and they still argue that it's better.
Yeah.
Now we're on to Minnesota. Just maple syrup whiskey, because I basically think they're all Canadians.
Yeah, that's a good one. I actually can't find fault with that, and the one I had was garbage from Minnesota.
Just garbage, or it wasn't a good one?
It was sewer water.
Okay. That's fair.
No. Actually, no. That's unfair because Minnesota is probably the next closest university to the shale oil fields in North Dakota. So I'm gonna go with oil runoff.
Man, you do not like Minnesota. I understand why, but this level of hatred's a little random considering you're just defending Ohio State. Who are you and what have you done with Kieran?
I don't know. Commandeered him.
Next up, USC, Negroni.
Oh, come on. I had the same one.
Prosecco. The most pretentious drink you can order.
Absolutely. I had the same thing for that. I was like, oh, this is gonna be perfect.
And that's why we have a podcast together, Kieran.
Oh, I'm disappointed now because I wanted that one. Never mind. We move on. That's
fair. All right, Kieran. Rutgers. I'll let you go first.
Oh, Rutgers. What can we say about Rutgers except a Long Island iced tea? You have it and you wish you didn't. You want to forget everything that you just watched at Rutgers.
That's fair. I'd go with anything they drink in The Godfather or The Sopranos or Goodfellas. You just got a bunch of Jersey trash trying to pretend they're in the mob. Rutgers. These schools should hire me to do their marketing.
Yeah, okay. Being a coach is one thing. Marketing is totally different.
I actually work in marketing for my real job.
Oh, good God.
Yep. Next up, Washington Huskies. Marijuana.
Okay. All right. I like it. I was just going to say any frilly Starbucks drink. Not good enough to have any liquor in it or anything. Just the milk.
That's fair.
You know what it is? It's because they are overly milky. Like they have absolutely no coffee. And coffee is the bread and butter, of college football. It's what wakes you up in the morning. But it's just a bunch of excess nonsense.
Yeah. That's fair. Moving on to Nebraska. I already used corn whiskey because it's corn based. I don't know what else Nebraska has, and I don't want to double up.
I was going with corn liquor or Everclear. Just straight up.
We'll go with Everclear.
Straight up nothing.
Everclear.
Everclear, because they're the exact sort of organization that has taken it over a repeated beating over and over and over again for years, and they can just handle anything that you throw at them.
That's true. And also they probably drink enough Everclear hoping it'll take them back to the 90s.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have Michigan State.
Mm.
And I feel like this one is difficult.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to go with a Midori sour, or any absinthe sour drinks, because I feel like Midori, well, first of all, Midori, I believe, is a green liqueur of some description, and it's Michigan without anything that's good, and that's what makes it sour.
That's fair. I was going to go with Murphy's Irish Stout.
Oh, second best. Yeah.
For the most part, it's fine. You're not going to ever really complain about it if someone hands you one, but it's not really what you want.
There you go. That's a good one.
Next up, UCLA. Russian vodka.
Ah, good one. Good one. Yeah. I was going raw milk, but yeah, Russian vodka works. What is it called? A white Russian. There you go. Mix the two.
Yeah, we'll combine the two. Perfect. All right. Closing in on the final bit. Wisconsin. Whatever's available.
Yep. Whatever's available. Shout out Wisconsin. The drunkest 50 counties in the state, or in the country, excuse me. Absolutely incredible run. Massive beer drinkers, can outdrink anybody I know. So any sort of beer. I was gonna explicitly say lager, but any sort of beer.
Beer, whiskey, vodka, rum, whatever's there, they'll drink it. I do think it's funny whenever British people are like, "Oh,
yeah,
Americans can't outdrink the British," when other countries have rules in their drinking competitions, like nobody from Wisconsin's allowed to compete.
Yeah, that's how bad it is,
or how great they are,
or both.
Their drinking prowess is known internationally.
Yeah. A single Wisconsinite, or Wisconsin, whatever the term is, could outdrink the entirety of England, and I'm convinced of that.
I'm convinced a Wisconsinite at 15 has drank more than your average British man will for his entire life.
Yeah. They are something else.
Average. If any British people listen to this, I don't need to hear about how your dad got hammered off 50 beers one night because you were a disappointment. Guess what? You still are. Moving on to
Nothing's
Northwestern.
Changed.
Yeah, nothing's changed. Northwestern. Water. They're nerds.
Yep. 100%. 100%. I actually had water for them as well. Nothing good.
Also Michelob Ultra, because they're nerds, but they're Chicago nerds.
Okay. I see where you're going with that.
I'll double up on Michelob Ultra because it's not a beer that deserves my respect.
Yeah, I will go with apple juice. Just enough for the taste, not enough for anything else.
Just a little something to take the edge off.
Yeah.
Next up, Maryland Terrapins.
I've got this one. Old Bay vodka. And yes, they do make Old Bay flavored vodka. I have to say, the actual vodka is not terrible, but they will put Old Bay on literally anything, and I was shocked to see it in vodka.
If this video gets 200 views,
yes,
the actual full-length video, just in case I make this TikTok, if this is on TikTok, go to our YouTube at Quad Tailgate, like, comment, subscribe, whatever. If it gets 200 views, I will buy a bottle of Old Bay vodka and drink the entirety of it week 0.
All right, I'm so down. We have to push this as far as we can.
And if they don't make it anymore, they don't have it near me, I will buy a different bottle of vodka and put
Old Bay in.
Some amount of Old Bay in it. We'll figure out the ratios. 200 views on this YouTube video.
I go down to Maryland sometimes to visit family, so I can just pick you up a bottle.
Perfect. When are you next going to Maryland, and when am I seeing you next?
Probably sometime.
I'm seeing you next.
What?
I know when I'm seeing you next.
Yeah, probably sometime in June. So hopefully it's before that.
You're going down sometime in June, or
yes, I believe so.
Okay, perfect. So if you see it, grab me a bottle. If this gets 200 views,
yeah,
that's the cutoff. Win Kieran next goes to Maryland, even if they don't have it. My wife's gonna listen to this and be pissed. She's like, "No, you're not doing that." I have to.
You're gonna enjoy
views. Now, remember, if you see a clip of this anywhere else, such as Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, follow at Quad Tailgate if you do, or if you want to. That does not count. It has to be this long video, or we'll say 200 on the long video, 5,000 on the YouTube short and TikTok combined.
Okay.
If we post this one. So, all right. I didn't even give my answer.
Go on.
Just the leftovers from a crab boil.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's Old Bay vodka.
Liquids
that's
left
just Old Bay vodka. I would love to have it reach Old Bay and us just get a sponsorship from that.
Oh, I'm tagging them in every single video about this.
That's great.
I love Old Bay though.
Yeah.
I had a lot when I was when we were in high school. For some reason, we just had some, and I'd put it on everything.
Yeah, I mean, it is that good. I get
popcorn, chicken, steak. Oh, so good. Old Bay, sponsor us.
Yeah.
Final school on the list, Purdue.
How could we miss Purdue?
Is a Boilermaker just too simple, too straightforward here?
No. That works perfectly. If anything, that makes the most sense.
Perfect. Round it out with something semi-serious. They're not serious, but straightforward.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying that's what we did.
Oh, yeah.
We're making jokes, and then last one. No, this one makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Boilermaker.
And for those of you who don't know what a Boilermaker is, it's basically a beer in a shot. That's essentially it's that simple. You can choose whatever you want, but
yeah.
In case people were confused, I figured I had to just make a mention of that.
No, that I appreciate it. This is saying whiskey specifically for the shot.
Oh yeah, sorry, true. So that's how I just frame it. I don't take shots of whiskey or rum. I do, or excuse me, vodka or rum. I just do whiskey.
I mean, I don't really do shots of anything anymore.
Well, yeah,
I'm an
you're
adult.
old.
I buy real whiskey. I buy like good whiskey, or I'm given it randomly by a bartender at my wedding
Oh, that
as a
stuff was
wedding
so good.
present from the venue.
That stuff was so good.
Well, it's almost gone actually. But yeah, 1 to 2 ounces of whiskey and a pint. You can either slam it or drop it in the pint. So if anyone's looking for weekend plans, have a couple Boilermakers. Again, same challenge as last week. Do all of it in one weekend. Let us know how it goes. You could let us know at Quad Tailgate on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, Tailgate on the Quad. This time, you can do all of them because I did not suggest anything illegal in most of the country. So let us know how it goes. Let us know how your parents, significant other, or roommates feel about you doing this. And take video proof. It will feature on the show and have you on to let us know how it is.
Perfect.
That's it. Next week, we are going to be doing Big 12, I think, next week, Kieran.
Yeah, I think so.
Big 12. I feel like we need to start having guests on during the offseason, Kieran, and keep things fresh.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to suggest a guest for our show or be a guest yourself, we're actually going to review people who ask. But tag them in the comments. Let them know who we should have on our show. Kieran, is anyone you want to have on the show that you want me to reach out to in an official capacity?
Oh, jeez. Not off the top of my head. I'll have to think about it.
Okay, we'll make lists. I did not tell him I was going to bring this up because I just thought.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Everyone have a good, safe, fun rest of your week. Enjoy your Big Ten gauntlet this weekend. And remember, 5,000 views, YouTube and TikTok, or 200 views on the long form video on our YouTube, and I will drink an entire bottle of Old Bay vodka during week 0. I'm not going to live stream it, but I will record videos to post after, or I'll give Kieran the logins and record videos for him to post as I'm doing it.
Perfect.
So, all right. Thank you. They're eating the dogs, Kieran, in Tuscaloosa.
They're eating the
dogs.
dogs.
You know that?
They were eating
the dogs.
Oh, a meth raccoon.
Yeah.
Just awful. There is nothing good about this. It's the worst possible scenario for the CFP, for the national championship.
Notre Dame is a mid-program with really good marketing.
And the Michigan players are going to look at that, and anybody who's committing to Michigan in the next years and just go, I want to beat them even more. Like, I wanted to beat them when I first came to this school. Recruits are going to see this.
And we're also sorry that you have to watch a Brian Kelly coach football team. We can only imagine how difficult that must be for you, knowing that you're not going to win a big game ever with him as your coach, and that you're rooting for a child murderer.
This podcast has gone off to a really weird start, but I like it.
I love it, though. I'm a big fan.